The TBM 940 is one of the fastest turboprops in the world, but this isn't just any TBM 940. In fact, this is the one that Steveo1Kinevo flies on his YouTube channel all the time, and I wanted to find out how it stacks up against the Cirrus Vision jet, arguably the world's safest personal jet. That's why we're going to talk to Steveo about the aircraft and then take it for a flight to put it to the test. I'm Hoover, and welcome to Hoover's Hangar. Back when I was flying fighter jets in the Air Force, I never imagined that one day I'd be flying with Steveo1Kinevo and a TBM 940. And even though this is going to be a lot of fun, my goal is to determine which aircraft is better, and in order to do that, I needed to define my mission objectives. First, I had to meet with Steveo and learn some of the basics about the TBM 940. Then I had to figure out what kind of training it takes to fly one, but I also needed to understand all of the capabilities it has and how much it costs to own. However, the part I'm really looking forward to is cruising at 500 feet down the shoreline past Miami Beach before we climb up to altitude to put it to the test. So that way, hopefully by the end of this video, we can answer the question of whether the TBM 940 is better than the Vision jet.
Hoover, thanks for stopping by in South Florida here. I'm so glad to have this opportunity to talk about this aircraft that you fly all the time. Tell me a little bit about how you got started in aviation, because I was digging some research and I found a video on YouTube from 17 years ago of you flying out of the Orlando International, probably when the first iPhone had just came out. So talk to me about it.
It was shaky. I mean, this was a long time ago, but I grew up in Wisconsin, and I always dreamed about aviation. I went for a discovery flight probably around when I was like 16 years old, but my family didn't have a lot of money, and I didn't have the kind of funds to go through flight training. But taking that discovery flight was amazing. We went around the city I grew up in, and I knew I was hooked. But I had to wait till later in life. I joined the United States Coast Guard, did 4 years in that, and I did the Montgomery GI Bill.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, the Montgomery GI Bill, back when I used it, it paid for 60% of your flight training after your private pilot license. So that's where I was able to get the money to go through all my flight training down here in Fort Lauderdale Executive Airport.
Well, that's awesome. And now you're flying the TBM 940, just one of several aircraft that you fly. Beautiful looking aircraft. Let's talk about the engine. What do you got here?
PT6 engine in there. I mean, you got 850 shaft horsepower on takeoff. It's got the 5-bladed prop on the front, which really gives it a lot of bite when you set takeoff power, or when you come back into reverse when you set it down. Yeah, you could land this thing in short distances. The other day I was up in northern Jersey, and I landed this airplane on a 1,981 foot long runway by 50 feet wide.
Nice.
So it's got a wide envelope, plus you have 31,000 feet, which is its service ceiling.
So there's a lot of remarkable capabilities. Let's talk about performance of the aircraft. How far can you take this aircraft on?
You can, I've taken the TBMs from Miami all the way down to St. Martin in the Caribbean, Miami to Boston. It's got about 5 hours of range on it. It burns, you average out about 60 gallons an hour when you're doing your flight planning. Okay. So you're going to want to get out of the airplane by the time this thing runs out of fuel.
So what are we talking about? 1,700 miles or so?
Yeah, about. So it's a really great airplane for shorter trips, especially if you want to.
And then since it's one of the fastest, what are you cruising at typically?
They advertise about 320 knots. So that's what they advertise. So right around there.
All right, I want to pause real quick to see how the two aircraft compare so far. Now, I realize it's apples to oranges when it comes to the engine, but for what it's worth, the Vision jet comes with the Williams FJ33-5A turbofan engine, which produces 1,846 pounds of thrust. However, when we look at some of the specs, the TBM 940 advertises a max range of about 1,700 miles with a full tank of gas. Now that means it can travel about 2 times as far as the Vision jet, because even though the Vision jet advertises a max range of 1,275 miles, you're typically only going to get 600 to 700 miles with a pilot and 4 passengers. We'll talk more about the useful load and capacity of each aircraft later, but for right now, the important thing to know is that the TBM 940 lives up to its reputation as one of the fastest turboprops in the world. In fact, you're going about 20 knots faster in the TBM than you are in the Vision jet, even though you're burning about the same amount of fuel. But they both have a pressurized cabin and a 31,000 foot service ceiling. All right, let me just say that as a former fighter pilot, I like to get places fast, and the TBM 940 is the winner in that category. But let's get back to Steveo because there's a few more things we need to talk about.
And then how many hours do you have flying the TBM 940?
The 940 TBMs in general, I've probably been flying around 12 years total, and I averaged around 150 hours with the job that I was flying with the TBM 850. The 940s, I've been flying probably the last few years, so I don't have a ton of time in the 940, but throughout the TBM lineup, I've flown every TBM, the 700, the 850, the 900, the 910, the 930, and then the 940. And then also they came out with the TBM 960. So I've got a few hours in that as well.
So have you noticed a lot of, are there significant differences between some of the earlier TBMs that you've flown and this?
100%. When they jumped up to the TBM 930 and then they put the G3000 in it, and with the home safe system and the then the 940 and 960 actually has the AFADIC engine, which it was a big improvement, enhancement from the 940 to the 960. So I really enjoy the G3000. I mean, when you see this layer today, it's auto everything. I mean, even though it's auto everything, you still got to make sure it's doing what it's supposed to do, but it's a super easy, fun airplane to fly.
Now, have you flown a lot of aircraft other than TBMs?
Yeah, I started out flying Fairchild Metroliners. It was my first job. I got hired out of Fort Lauderdale International here. I didn't know what I was doing at 400 hours, but back then...
Nobody does.
So yeah, I served with Fairchild Metroliners, and you get, as a co-pilot in a Metroliner, you really work hard because there's no autopilot. So you, as a co-pilot, you're the autopilot. So we did a lot of flying to Haiti, Cuba. Then I jumped into the Saab 340s as a first officer. I went to corporate and charter after that, flying King Airs and Caravans, single pilot as captain, which really upped my resume, being able to be single, cap, PIC time.
Right.
And then from the King Airs and Caravans, I got a beautiful Part 91 job, flying the TBM 850 out of Opelika. And that was an amazing job.
Now, do you have to get a type rating specific to this aircraft?
It's not really a type rating, but you'll go up to SimCom is where I go, Orlando.
Okay.
And you do your annual recurrent training. It's for your insurance purposes. It's good. The sim training is amazing. I mean, you just got done with your sim training. You really learn a lot that you can't do in real life.
Right.
So I love being able to do the sim training.
So they walk you through like all the emergency procedures and really everything that's going to get you killed. You're covering it in a safe environment.
Exactly. To me, that sim training is so crucial and beneficial to have.
So for the person that's thinking about purchasing an aircraft like this, really, who is this best designed for?
A lot of owners that buy TBMs and this type of airplane, they're coming out of the piston world, maybe in an SR-22 turbo, Cirruses. My friend Isaac, who owns this airplane, that's what he came out of, flying Cirruses, and he jumped in. This was his first turboprop. So that's basically the type of ownership that will buy an aircraft like this.
Okay. Do you think it's a difficult transition for pilots that don't have a lot of time transitioning from a Cirrus, like you just said, to an aircraft like this? There's a lot more horsepower, a lot more capability there.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, even though it's an easier airplane for someone that's experienced, coming right out of it, I mean, you got a lot of power. You got a very wide envelope, cruising at 31,000 way up in the flight levels, and this drags in with full flaps at 85 knots to land. So it's got a very wide envelope. You set takeoff power, you got to be stomping on that right rudder because it's going to want to pull you.
To be perfectly clear, even though it's possible for someone to transition to a TBM 940 or a Vision Jet from a Cirrus SR-22, you're probably still going to need to have at least 500 to 700 hours before you make that move. Keep in mind, though, that just because you don't need a type rating to fly the TBM 940 like you do for the Vision Jet, you still need to go through training to be safe, and SimCom has a great program to help you out.
We'll check out some of the avionics later on when we get airborne, but let's talk about capabilities in terms of keeping you safe during flight. Does it have a weather radar?
Oh, yes. It's right behind you. You can see the onboard weather radar right there. And you also have an XM weather radar. But when you're picking your way through, of course, you're going to want to use your onboard when you're picking through storm.
What about anti-ice capabilities?
Yeah, you got the boots, and you got the inlet for the intake, and they also prop the ice. So I mean, it's got all good icing system on it.
Okay, so I know you don't run into a lot of icing conditions down here in Florida.
Exactly.
But it does provide that capability.
You can fully go into icing with this thing, and I've never had an issue with it when I built up ice before.
Now, you mentioned that you landed on a runway the other day, just under 2,000 feet long, 50 feet wide. What's the ideal runway length for somebody operating this aircraft? I mean,
here's the thing. We ran the calculations and the performance, and we were good with the numbers. So that's why we went into that field. I've also done the Cedar Key, which was just a little over 2,000. So that the runway the other day was my new record for shortest with the TBM. And you have to be responsible. You can't just say you're going to go in and out of these strips. You have to make sure you're running the performance numbers and everyone's good to go. I mean, that's the shortest basically you're going to get in and out of with this type of airplane. I mean, to be nice and comfortable, nice 5,000-foot runway is perfect.
Ideally 5,000 feet, hard surface.
Yeah, if you're
Can you land on a grass runway?
I've heard that you could possibly, but if you look at the wheel skirts down here, they come pretty low. It has to be a very well-maintained grass runway, in my opinion. I would not personally do it, but because they could really, these smaller tires, you can see they're very small, the tires. So I think you could do it if it's very well-maintained, but I personally would not.
Let's talk about cargo capacity. It's got 4 seats in the back. You've got the seat up front for the pilot, and then there's another seat.
Yeah.
So 6 adults. Can it really carry 6 adults plus baggage?
Yeah, if you're light on fuel. I mean, you'd have to be a lot lighter on fuel. So yeah, you got the baggage compartment up here in the front, and then you got behind the rear seats back there.
What's the rough useful load of the aircraft?
All I know is if you want to put golf clubs, they're not going to fit in the back. I've tried it before.
Okay. So you can't take your golf clubs necessarily unless you're taking out some adults.
Yeah.
To put it back into the main.
Putting it in the main aisle or something.
Yeah. Well, and one of the things that I think is unique about this aircraft that I haven't seen on a lot of other aircraft, you've got 2 doors here, right? You've got a door for the pilot and then a door for your passengers.
Yeah, this has got the pilot door up here, which is nice. So that way, when you get all your passengers loaded, you don't have to give them a lap dance getting up to the cockpit. You can get right into the cockpit seat through the pilot door here.
That's definitely one way to put it. I probably wouldn't have used those terms. But that's really neat to see, and certainly a feature I think people would be interested in.
Yeah, it's a great feature. No, it gets if you got a bunch of people back there, it gets uncomfortably close because you got to close the door for them.
Yeah.
From the inside and then sneak your way up through all of it.
All right, before I give you my opinion about this, I want to share with you that the TBM 940 has been on my list of aircraft to fly for a while, but I still have several more to cross off the list. So if you own one of these aircraft, or you have an aircraft that you think I should fly, I've put a link in the video description below where you can fill out a form to get in touch with me, and maybe we could go flying together someday. In the meantime, when it comes to the TBM 940, the thing I like about it is that even with a full tank of fuel, you can still carry a pilot and 3 passengers and still have room for a little bit of luggage. And that's just not going to happen in the Vision Jet. However, I'd argue that the Vision Jet is a lot roomier in the back and it's better designed for passenger comfort, something that might be worth it to you if you're always making short trips, because then you can carry more people and less fuel. But the question is, how do the 2 aircraft compare in terms of cost?
Talk to me a little bit about the operating cost of the aircraft. How much does it cost per hour on average?
When it comes to the annual costs, it could be worst case scenario. I've had an annual that was $93,000 on the TBM 850. A normal annual inspection will normally settle right around $25,000 to $30,000 a year is what you'd be basically budgeting for an annual. What's great about the TBM, it's a single engine turboprop. So when you go into its maintenance inspections and everything, you're only dealing with 1 engine instead of 2. So a lot of owners that want to save money on operating costs, having 1 engine that's basically going almost the same speed as King Airs and all that stuff, it's a lot cheaper to operate compared to a multi-engine airplane.
Well, you mentioned the King Air. Is that something that would be comparable to this aircraft for people that are looking to get into this class?
Yeah, King Air is a great airplane. I have a couple $100 hours in it. And what a lot of people like about the multi-engine is the redundancy of having another engine in case something goes wrong.
Well, how do you feel about a single engine?
As long as it burns Jet A, I'm happy to go. Pratt & Whitney, I think they make great engines. And as long as it burns Jet A, I'm ready to go.
Talk about climb performance. We know it's fast. Can it climb well?
Oh yeah, it climbs really well. With this today, when with the auto throttle, you put it in FMS mode and we would hit flight level change and we'll pitch for 124 knots. You'll get 4,000 feet a minute out of it if, with the single engine turboprop. And that's pretty good in my opinion.
What about density altitude? Is that a factor when we get into higher elevations for the aircraft? Does it really limit the performance of it?
Yeah, you're always going to wonder and worry about density altitude. I mean, you take the calculations into consideration. I mean, this is basically like any other airplane. You always want to look at that to make sure you don't get yourself in trouble.
What's your favorite TBM to fly?
I think the 940. I only have a limited amount of hours in the 960, and I believe that maybe coming onto my channel here soon with my friend Isaac, So the 960 will be an amazing airplane because it's got the FADEC engine. Well, you know, electronic dimming windows in the back. I mean, it's got all the cool features. But right now, I love the TBM 940.
Yeah. If you could fly any aircraft that you wanted to, what aircraft would you pick?
F-15. Yeah, I know you got a few hours in one of those.
I have a couple hours.
A fighter jet would be amazing.
Yeah. Well, for general aviation, though, what else compares to this that you would want to see yourself flying one day?
I really like the PC-24, the glass, especially if they would someday go over to the Garmin avionics package. ProLines, I believe, are a little bit step behind right now in the avionics technology world.
Right.
But I love the Garmin systems for avionics. But I love the PC-24. That was amazing. And also getting in the CJ lineup, CJ3, that's really a fun airplane too.
And you've done some flights in the PC-24, haven't you?
Yeah, out in Switzerland. Beautiful area to fly. It's, I think, the most beautiful place I've ever flown in my entire life. And getting to, you know, hand fly the PC-24 through the Swiss Alps was definitely bucket list for me.
Before we go flying, I just want to say that it was really neat to learn a little bit more about Stevo. However, in full transparency, because Stevo doesn't own this aircraft, he doesn't pay the bills for it. So when it comes to the operating cost, you're probably looking at somewhere around at least $1,200 per hour, which might be similar to the Vision Jet, but there's a lot of variables to consider. However, the biggest difference between the two aircraft is going to be your purchase price, with a used TBM 940 running around $4 million, whereas you can get a Vision Jet that's about 5 years old for under $2 million. So I'm not sure if the TBM 940 is worth the cost, but I'm curious what you think, so let me know in the comments.
Your buddy Isaac has allowed us the opportunity to go fly this aircraft today. We're going to put it to the test, and it sounds like we're going to do a little bit of low altitude flight.
Yeah, I'm going to give you a great view of that.
I'm going to reminisce from my Strike Eagle days and maybe teach you a thing or two.
That'd be awesome.
All right, looking forward to it.
That was good.
So this is the G3000?
G3000. Yeah, definitely. It's a great system. Just got to do our initialization.
And this is all touch screen, but these are not touch screen?
Correct.
Correct? Okay.
Okay, FLL, enter. Destination is going to be the same. Payload, we got one passenger. Takeoff, fuel, sink. So we got 197 gallons on board. That's just to check all our databases are perfect and accept initialization. Turn off our speaker. There we go. All right, ready to start this thing up?
Let's do it.
Clear out the front. Fuel boost pump is coming on. Spring loaded switch is at the starter. Gonna hit the starter switch for 2 seconds. 1,000, 2, 1,000, release. Watching the NG rise up and stabilize right here. 14%, reduce fuel to low idle. Now we're watching the ITT for hot start, NG for hung start.
It's remarkably quiet.
Yeah, it's not too bad. We're having a big old engine right up here in front of us. Looking good. Secondary fuel nozzles are going to kick in right there. And good start. And my favorite button, air conditioning.
By the way, I just want to point out that as we're going through all of our checks on the ground, it might look like Stevo's not using a checklist, but there's 2 things you need to know about that. First of all, the aircraft has an electronic checklist that we're going to take a look at later, which is very similar to the Vision Jet. But second, the reason you don't see Stevo using it is because he has a paper checklist that he's referencing that you can't really see because of the camera angles and some of the edits that were made to this video. Now, the reason I wanted to share this is because my #1 goal is to stay safe. And it doesn't matter how many hours or how much experience you have, you always need to take the time to use the checklist.
Now this is auto throttles, correct?
Yeah, we have the auto throttle right here, bud.
Okay.
And we're going to take off an FMS mode.
0.3 tower frequency for runway 10, right is 120.2. Advise on initial
All right, we've got
contact.
November. One thing we're going to do before we do anything here, we're going to go to our settings, and we're going to inhibit our train warning because we're going to be going low level today, right down the beach, and we don't want to be getting yelled at every couple seconds with the train. So that's one thing we're going to do right there.
Talk to me about what we got going on here. So this is a very simple center console here. You've just got the throttle. You got 3 positions for your flaps there.
Up, takeoff, and landing.
That's it.
And you got your auto throttle disconnect over here, your go around button here, and then 2 levers down here to go up and over the gate to beta and reverse.
So if you're flying this, if you're shooting an instrument approach and you need to go around, all you do is hit that and the auto throttles are going to take over.
Yeah, there's a procedure. You hit the go around button. You're going to then get positive rate, gear up, get your flaps cleaned up, and you're also going to go in over here back into FMS mode, climb and flight will change mode, and the auto throttle will bring you back up out of the.
And then you've got a fuel tank selector down here as well. Are you having to manage that during flight?
Yeah, it runs on an electric timer.
Okay.
A certain amount of seconds on the ground compared to what it does in the flight. Right now we've got our 2 fuel tank selectors, so right now we're burning on the left. We have a manual shift up here because we're a little bit lower on the left right now. We're burning on the left, so let's go to the right. So I push the shift button. That's a manual shift button. Now we're burning out of the right, but that's not an electric timer.
Okay, so it'll automatically do that for you, so you don't have to manage that during flight.
Nope, just in case you just want to manually do it, just to get a little bit more of an even balance if you want.
Gotcha.
All right, let's get our clearance here. Fort Lauderdale clearance, good afternoon, November 940 Lima Golf.
Who was calling clearance?
Good afternoon, that's TBM, we're at TBM 940 Golf. We're over at the southwest ramp at Gold Aviation. We got November, we'd like to go east, VFR, and then south along the shoreline below level.
Do you want flight following with Miami or just to get out of the Charlie, November 40 Golf?
We'll take flight following, 940 Lima Golf.
TBM 40 Golf, Roger. Do you just have a destination, kind of an airport that you can go, that you're going to?
We're going to go right down past Key Biscayne and then do a U-turn and come right back to you guys. So he's going to give us a squawk code here, and we'll have flight flying. It's very busy up and down the beach, so having an extra set of eyes helping us.
TBM 40 Golf, Roger. I'll just put Opalaka just for the system, but you're not actually going there, so you'll let approach know when you get out there. But and I'll put 2,500. Is that fine for altitude?
I'd like to go 500 feet low level right down the beach for 940 Lima Golf.
TBM 40 Golf, you'll maintain VFR out of below 1,000 and squawk 0166.
VFR below 1,000 and 0166 squawking. 940 Lima Golf.
TBM 40 Golf, thank you. Feedback is correct, and November is current. Just when you get airborne with the tower, if you do want flight following, just let them know so they can start handoff with Miami.
Roger, we'll go 0 Lima Golf. All right, we'll taxi up here and then we'll ask for our taxi instructions. This is
So the G3000 gives you the moving map display with all the airport functionality on it, correct?
Correct.
And then I saw all the weight and balance is all built into that. You can calculate all that.
Yep.
Now can you build a whole flight plan outside of the aircraft and then import it?
Yeah, you can with the board flight. You can basically send right to panel, and then
1327.
you'll go over here and
tower 120. Correction, monitor tower 120.2.
be able to just the whole flight plan goes right into the system.
Yeah. I still remember probably the first time I ever got clearance. How confusing that was, like, because you've never done something like that before. You don't, and especially in a busier airport when it's rapid fire, and then you're feeling all the pressure to read it back correctly, and you're like writing it down and everything.
And the worst is when you get a reroute and you're getting out something that you didn't even file.
Yep. Flight controls look like testing good there.
Yep. Running with ground now. Ground, good afternoon. November 940 Lima Golf, southwest ramp, Gold, ready to taxi with information November.
November 940 Golf for ground, and just verify you're in the southwest corner of shelter.
Hey, we're over in the Gold's ramp, Gold Aviation ramp, very far southwest ramp for 940 Lima Golf.
November 940 Golf, Fort Lauderdale ground, Roger, runway 10 right, taxi via Juliet. At Juliet, you'll be following the Spirit.
Taxi Juliet, and we'll follow Spirit to 10 right, 940 Lima Golf. All right. I'll tell you, this is a new airplane that my friend Isaac acquired, and we're flying. The hardest part about...
November 940 Golf, just verify you have information November.
We have November 940 Lima Golf. is remembering the new call signs.
Right, right.
Like when you get a new tail number.
Hanging out on a Bravo 5, making his way towards the runway.
We got an iguana. Someone's spotted some iguanas.
Any on vehicle on frequency?
Then what do you normally brief for emergencies on takeoff?
So yeah, we're gonna
This is up 99.
basically, if we have any problems and we come to a stop on the runway,
Hello, it's
your spirit, we're gonna come back to a stop on the runway. If we get past the part where we have no more usable runway, and we're below 400 feet, we will look, if it's a catastrophic failure, we're going to look somewhere out in front of us to land. Above about 1,500 feet, we'll run some checklists and then return for landing if we have an issue.
Monitor tower 120.2.
Over to tower, 940 Link Golf. All right, monitoring tower.
Then what's your normal rotation speed?
Around 85 knots. 87 is what we'll use today.
Does it require a lot of back pressure?
Not really too bad. As you can see, you have all your speeds all linked up right there at the system. So rotation is 85 knots.
Okay. Caution jet blast, caution wake turbulence for the Airbus 320. 940 Golf. Roger. Runway 10 right, caution wake turbulence, caution jet blast for line of the wake.
Line of wait, 10 right, 940 Link Golf.
Alright, I see 10 right outside. And
He's taking off, clear and final.
10 right inside.
So this airplane has auto everything.
Final's
So
clear.
we have an auto throttle. What we're going to do is
TBM 4 Lima Golf, runway 10 right, clear for takeoff, maintain VFR at below 500, join the shoreline southbound.
clear for takeoff 10 right, VFR 500 feet, and join the shoreline southbound 940 Link Golf. So now that we're lined up, now we arm the auto throttle, because you wouldn't want to do that over there. Because once
13.7, you contact Miami Park.
you go past a certain point, you're going to hear a click.
Yep.
There we go. That's auto throttle is engaged.
Okay.
And everything looks good. Oil temperature pressures.
Yep. Picking up speed fast.
And as soon as we hit 85, we'll rotate.
There's
There
85,
it is.
yep. So you rotate.
We'll tap the brakes. Now we're gonna retract the gear immediately because we still have usable runway out in front of us in case we have an issue, you know.
Right.
So right there, we're basically running out, gear selected up.
Yeah.
And you're gonna see once we get over the water, this is gonna smoothen right on out the air.
And so it has a radar altimeter too.
Yep.
Okay.
Flaps up, yaw damper on. And I'm gonna actually go into manual mode with the auto throttle. Yeah, because we don't want to scream down the beach. I want to show you a nice
712 Fort Lauderdale Tower, on at the Calypso.
So over on the left we got Port Everglades.
Traffic on the upwind, be joining the shoreline southbound, TBM.
We'll scroll out right here. So we have traffic.
0 Lima Golf, you can start your turn to join the shoreline, appreciate it.
Roger, starting our turn down the shoreline, 940 Lima Golf. All right, here's the shoreline.
Yep.
We're gonna dive her on down to 500 feet. This also has overbank protection. So if I was to surpass the line for overbanking, the autopilot could kick on and get you back in shape for safety reasons.
Nice. Yeah, we've done a lot of low altitude flying in the Strike Eagle. I don't know that I've ever done a takeoff
Auto throttle
where I stayed this low right from from the takeoff. You know, we're normally doing the max performance climb.
TBM 4, correction, TBM 0 Lima Golf, frequency change approved, squawk VFR, take care.
500.
Squawk VFR, frequency change approved, 0 Lima Golf. All right. So they didn't want to give us a flight following today.
Right, right. And that's fine. So you've got all your ADS-B traffic on here. I can see that. And then you've done this route several times before.
Oh yeah, many times.
You know, so there's a lot of familiarity there.
There's a lot to look out for though. Yeah.
Right.
Banner tows, helicopters. I mean,
Birds, seagulls.
kite surfers. So we're now squawking VFR. So we'll be on our own here. As long as we stay down low here, there'll be no issue with the airspace down.
Now you've got so I see the auto throttles are engaged and the yaw dampener.
Yep.
But you're hand flying it right now. But we could.
Can
the autopilot fly off of the radar altimeter, or will only fly off of MSL?
Yeah. So if we put 500 feet, we could have the autopilot work. You know. So we go down to 500 feet.
Right.
Go into heading mode.
Roger, frequency change
Autopilot on. There we go. Now the autopilot's taken over.
Okay.
And it'll handle it, manage it well down here. We'll go 140 on the speed with the auto throttle.
Okay.
And as you can see, this is a beautiful flight. So this
Oh yeah.
airplane has auto everything. That what came up was a fuel imbalance, so I made sure we're burning off the right, which is a little bit heavier.
You know, it's designed for a single pilot, but do you ever find yourself, you know, wishing you had a second pilot flying with you on some of these trips?
It is nice to have an extra set of eyes out the windows on it, especially like a route like this, because there's a lot to look out for.
Well, what about IFR flying in the weather and stuff?
057, contact Miami departure.
Say again?
Take care.
What about flying in the weather,
Have a good day.
IFR,
Airwing 619,
shooting approaches down to minimums, that sort of thing? Is it truly automated enough where it helps you out, or would you prefer to have that second person with you?
I would say it all depends on your skill level. If you're newer to aviation, it would be nice to have an extra set of eyes and ears and another brain over there to help you make decisions.
Right.
So we have one airplane that we're probably going to be catching right here in front of us.
Yeah, I see that. So right now your autopilot's engaged. You're flying off of a heading mode, is what it looks like to me.
Yep, I got the
Okay.
heading mode activated.
So you're using the heading bug to essentially steer the aircraft while you're doing that. And we're holding 500 feet there, but you can either manually change the altitude, or can you use like just vertical speed if you wanted to climb or descend?
Yeah, there's different things you use. If you're doing arrivals and you want to descend via, you could also use your VNAV.
Okay.
If you have a VNAV, for arrival to procedure, if they say descend via, you can descend with your VNAV. You can use your vertical speed. And then like when we would do a climb out, if I have 10,000 feet, I would be in FMS mode with the auto throttle, and then you just hit flight level change, and then it'll pitch for whatever you have programmed into the computer system.
Now when you're cruising up, you said, would you cruise at like around 300 knots?
Yeah, somewhere right around there.
Does this ever feel slow to you when you're down here doing 130, 140 down the shore?
I mean, this is more of like a sightseeing flight
Yeah,
right here. It's
right.
like you don't really want to be screaming down the beach.
Oh
Plus-
no, I know.
But I always say low and slow is way more fun than high and fast when
Yeah.
you want to fly for fun.
Yeah.
I'd like to go closer to the beach, but we've got this guy right out here in front of us.
Yeah, I
so
see
let's
that.
Airwing 619, contact Miami departure. Take care.
And I've got the light system where we're pulsating on our landing lights,
Okay.
extra visibility. It also has this airplane, the home safe system right here. So,
Yeah, so
say,
talk to me a little bit about that.
they say, yeah, let's just pretend you're not a pilot and I'm the only pilot on board and I become incapacitated. You would push and hold this button for, I forget how many seconds, until it activates the home safe. And now what's going to happen is all these screens are going to dummy down to what a passenger would understand. This airplane will pick the appropriate airport, navigate weather, navigate terrain, find the most appropriate runway to land on with the wind. It'll also notify ATC that we're an emergency aircraft. And it'll come into land, puts the gear down, the flaps down, it'll get some of the landing configuration. And then it'll also come to a stop and tell the passengers how to get out of the airplane.
Will it shut down the engine too?
Yeah. It's the most amazing feature I've ever seen for a single pilot.
So when it breaks down the display to the passenger mode, if you want to call it that, I'm assuming you just got basic heading, altitude, and airspeed information.
And it's basically telling them time to landing. As a
Okay.
passenger, they want to know, like, well, how long am I going to be up here
Okay.
with my pilot being incapacitated?
Okay.
It's not something you can test because it's such a process of
Yeah, and I'm visual that guy over the shore there.
Yep, I see him there.
Just for reference, the home safe system in the TBM 940 is very similar to the safe return capability offered on the Cirrus Vision Jet. However, as far as I'm aware, the TBM 940 was the first of the two aircraft to implement an auto land system. Either way, it's a great safety feature for passengers to know that they can safely get back down on the ground if something happens to the pilot. However, the TBM 940 doesn't have an airframe parachute system like the Vision Jet does, so if your engine fails during flight, you're going to have to find a place to glide to for landing.
This is coming up South Beach, which is a very famous beach in Florida.
Yeah. Visual lookout low altitude is one of the things that they really harp on in the Strike Eagle, because when we're doing
our low-level flying, we're flying these military training routes or designated training routes, right? So we can do 480 knots ground speed to 540 ground speed. So you don't have a lot of time to visually acquire a Cessna that's doing 100 knots. So you rely a lot on the radar, but it looks like we've got a bird down low there.
Yeah, bird down low.
You know, you spend a lot of time looking outside. This aircraft is kind of taking care of things for you on the inside in terms of the automation.
Exactly. So we have a banner tow over here. See the banner tow? So that's great to be able to have the situational awareness of all these airplanes around us.
Well, I think without that, I mean, it'd just be a lot more challenging.
I had somebody once told me they liked not knowing where all the airplanes were because then they didn't stress as much. But I don't know about that.
That sounds like a poor risk mitigation strategy.
I didn't agree with them on that one. So there, look up.
Traffic, 10 o'clock, same altitude,
And
0 miles.
No factor.
So what's the scariest moment you've had in a TBM?
My landing gear wouldn't come down when I was landing in St. Pete with the TBM 850.
Okay.
And it was really, with all the sim training you do the same training every year. It was really a non-factor. I actually had the airplane configured, manually pumped the gear down and everything within, I believe, 4 minutes to come back into land. This is all it took me to run the checklist and get it to manually come down.
So you ended up getting the gear down. It just wouldn't come down automatically to manually extend it?
Yeah, what happened to a squatch switch went bad on the main gears, and on the main gear, and that is what the airplane thought it was still on the ground. So for some reason, it tricked the airplane to not letting me put the gear back down. So that, I've had a lot of crazy, as you know, when you fly long enough, you have a lot of crazy issues that come up. But that was probably a nerve-wracking one. But I've had electrical fires in flight, which were not fun in a Seminole when I was training. That was scary.
How reliable is this aircraft from a maintenance perspective?
I mean, to me, when they're newer, pretty good. But when they get to a certain age, they start to have issues. Like when both TBMs that I've flown in the past, when they get older, they have issues, unfortunately. All right, we'll go up to 1,500 feet, and we'll go into FMS, flight level change, and now the airplane is going to pitch for 124. You're going to see the throttle increase all on its own. There we go, look at that. Throttle's right up.
So that was a warning for what, fuel imbalance?
Yeah,
or?
What it is we were off on the timing. The timer has been off from when we took off.
Okay.
So we're right on the edge of the limitation for fuel imbalance. So I'm going to have to keep manually shifting over to the right just to get it, to make the computer happy to get us back in balance.
Okay, so it was still shifting regardless of what the balance was. You're saying it off of that 5-minute timer?
So yeah, it's doing its timer, but it doesn't realize the imbalance that it has.
That we were already slightly imbalanced.
Yeah, so
Gotcha.
I'm just going to have to manually shift. Or if you wanted to, you could just turn the automatic selector off.
Okay.
Right here. So now you go to off.
Right. But the threat with that is remembering to turn it back on.
Manual. So it's going to let you know now our auto select is off and we're burning out of the right. So we'll keep it like that just for a little bit to get that right tank back even.
How many hours did you feel like you needed to have in the first TBM you flew before you started to really get comfortable with it?
Since I had so much time in caravans, it was a very smooth transition over to this. I went up just a couple times and got my initial training in it and I was ready to go. So we'll start a U-turn here.
Right.
This is Key Biscayne right down here, clear to the left.
And you said when somebody gets checked out on an aircraft like this, it's not necessarily a type rating, but they're going to go up to Orlando, or I'm assuming maybe there's other places they can do that to get that training. Is that a 2-week course, or what is that course like?
I believe it was so long ago when I did the initial. I believe it was about a week, I believe it was.
Okay.
But now I do express recurrence the last, how many years, 15 years, or how many years I've been flying the TBM. I do express recurrence, which are only 2 days, which is
10 right, you're cleared to land, traffic
nice.
on a 4-mile final, JetBlue Airbus descending through 1,400.
All right, so we're gonna go back up the beach now. Go back down to 500 feet. We'll VS that 1,000 feet a minute. And I got us back in the auto throttle back to manual mode. Scrolled back to 140.
Now talk to me about the displays that we have here. You and I have basically the same display settings, but I can go in and customize and change mine?
Yeah, you can customize. You could actually you can half these There's so many things you can do with all these screens. You can.
Okay, so this is now giving us ADS-B, but not on, or will it show on both?
It'll show on both, I believe.
Okay.
But you could put a checklist up over there. You can put anything. You could split it to anything for the most part. I do have a raft in the back today because we are not within gliding distance of land right here. So there's a nice raft right in the back here for us if we were to have to use that.
Have you ever done any water survival training?
I have not. Just a little bit in the Coast Guard a long time ago.
Yeah.
And that was it.
Did they ever put you out in a raft? Come pick you up with a helo?
No, they never did.
Climb in the basket?
Yep.
Did you go to the dunk tank? Did you ever do one of those?
I have not.
Okay. Like where they simulate a helicopter?
We did that up in
water?
Traverse City. We did that up at Traverse City in the Coast Guard. But my friend that was also in flight chops, he got to do the basket and jump in.
Yeah.
We rescued him. I was able to stay dry in the helicopter, which is nice. Also, this airplane has a button right here, LVL. So say we're hand flying it in the soup, it's all in the clouds, and we get all out spatial disorientation, and we're all over the place. We don't know what we're doing. You push this button, that's going to turn the autopilot on and get you all stable in level flight. So that's really handy. Say for some reason you got spatial disorientation, you didn't know what was happening, and you thought you're getting all out of whack, you would hit that level button.
Well, the biggest risk with spatial disorientation is the unrecognized spatial disorientation, right? The guy that doesn't know he's spatially disoriented. Think of the classic graveyard spiral type scenario. You think everything is fine, but really you're spiraling down towards the ground. Are there any protections associated with that? I know you mentioned the bank limit.
Yep, it's the overbank protection. So if you were to keep fighting that bank, it's going to autopilot on and bring it back to straight and level.
So will this activate automatically if you're fighting it?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, the autopilot on this airplane, if you're all out of control, you're still going to have the autopilot come on automatically. But if you weren't to that point yet, but you were confused of what's going on, you could hit that button.
Right.
Just watching probably the banner tow right here again. Same altitude.
Yeah.
We don't want to wreck this beautiful flight with anything bad happening.
As we were starting to head back up the coast, you might have noticed that Stevo was constantly making adjustments to the aircraft the entire flight, while both of us were being very proactive about scanning outside. That's because the biggest threat for this flight was other VFR traffic. So we took a very conservative approach to what we were doing, but it was still a lot of fun. And the opportunity to cruise down the shoreline past Miami Beach at 500 to 1,000 feet is something that most people will never get a chance to do. But now that we were done with that mission objective, we needed to find out how fast the aircraft could climb and explore a few more features before making our way back to see how it handles in the pattern.
Well, you want to go out to the west over the Everglades?
Yeah, if you got time for it.
Yeah, we could.
Miami, good afternoon, November 940 Lima Golf.
November 940 Lima Golf, Miami.
We're at TBM 9. We're 11 to the south along the shoreline, north along the shoreline at 500 feet, and we'd like to get a VFR flight flying.
TBM 940 Lima Golf, where are you going to?
We'd like to go transition west of Fort Lauderdale International, just get a little altitude for a test, and then come back into Fort Lauderdale for 940 Lima Golf.
Airsprint 816, contact departure 126.85.
2685, Airsprint 8168.
And number 940 Lima Golf. The west side, I'm just working pretty much the east side of Opelika right now. The west side is extremely busy right now. If you could do it, I know it's not ideal, over the water, there's nobody out there, and you pretty much have free range, but over there on the west side right now, it's pretty crazy.
Okay, sounds good to me. East side sounds good for us, and if that could work for that 940 Lima Golf.
And what altitude would you like to go up to for 940 Lima Golf?
I'd like to go up to 7,500.
Be smoother air out that direction anyway.
Yeah.
Go with the Everglades, it's really bumpy. Over this way, look at this, perfectly smooth. Just wait for our
Number 940 Lima Golf, maintain VFR and squawk 4324.
4324, and we'll maintain VFR 940 Lima Golf.
All right, so we'll go to the east, and with the shelf right here where we're at.
TBM 940 Lima Golf, your radar contact indicating 500. The altimeter remind me 298, and so the best position for your airwork is going to be about a 120 heading.
Roger, we'll start on 120 heading, 940 Lima Golf.
0 Lima Golf. There is some VFR traffic about 3 miles east-northeast of you, southeast bound at 1,100, type is unknown. Additional traffic about 5 miles east of you, westbound, indicating 2,000, type is unknown.
Roger, look at 940 Lima Golf.
All right, so we still can't go into Bravo.
0 Lima Golf, just for our planning, how long will you need to be up there in the altitude?
Just around 3 or 4 minutes.
Roger, you think you'll be able to do it at maybe like 11,000?
Okay, well, 11,000 works for us, 940 Lima Golf.
All right, let me make a call real quick. And previous call traffic, no factor.
Roger, thank you.
All right, so we have 1,500 set up.
All right, we're going to see how fast we can climb here.
Here we go.
25. Starting at 1,000 feet. Ready? Whenever you're ready.
0 Lima Golf, contact departure on 126.85.
2685, 0 Lima Golf.
All right, I got the clock running. We started at 200 knots. Now is this pitching for 124?
Correct.
Miami, good afternoon. November 940 Lima Golf on a 120 heading, climbing of 1,500.
November 40 Lima Golf, my approach, Roger.
And is that typically your best climb speed?
Yeah, for the most part. When I usually like to climb around 130, 140, but this is just the slowest. It's VY.
Right.
So we got 3,000 feet a minute, but as we know, as we get to our 124, it's going to come back down. Our
yeah, still that's pretty good.
And our fuel balance is now perfectly in line, so we'll now go back to auto mode.
We're looking for 30, 470.
Mike 158 in the turn.
You'll lose the CAS message that we headed off.
American 158 looking.
The other thing is we have inertial separator on, which is 2 flaps up in the intake of the engine. And when you're down low, or for takeoff and landing, you have it on, so it's kicking out a lot more of the air. Once I get about 10,000 feet, I would normally hit the button right down here and turn it off. It's going to rotate the 2 flaps up in the intake, where now you're going to get a lot more air into the engine, and so you're going to get a lot cooler. It's going to run a lot cooler, and you also get a torque rise when you do that.
All right, while we're climbing up here, can you pull up some of the emergency checklists, things like that, so we can...
So you have all your different, we've got emergency smoke, cabin fire on the ground, cabin fire in flight, or engine fire in flight, engine or smoke in flight. You would just basically click on whatever checklist you need, and then bam, you can go right through them. Don oxygen mask. And then you would tell you the next step, emergency fuel. So you have all your checklists right here. And I believe it doesn't come stock with this TBM. I think he had it installed on his own.
Now the cab pressurization, what schedule does that keep that on? Like what's the max cabin altitude you'll get to? If this was up, you said it could go up to 31.5 as a ceiling?
Yeah. This doesn't have as good a pressurization as, like, let's say a CJ3. You could be at 31,000 feet, and you'll probably be at a cabin altitude of right around 9,300.
Okay.
Right now, we have a cabin altitude of 2,400. Differential pressure at 3.3.
Right, and we're going through 10,000 feet. By the way, we're still climbing at 2,000 feet per minute.
Not too bad. And then we also have a cabin rate is climbing at 600 feet a minute. 1,000 to go.
What happens if you lose cabin pressure?
You'll get a CAS message, and you'll see that what your cabin pressurization is at. You're going to immediately want to don your oxygen masks. And as there's 2 of them in here, one behind you and one behind me. What a lot of people don't understand is my mask is the one behind you. So I come over here, grab that, because I can't get to mine. Yours would be right there.
Sure.
So we don the oxygen masks on.
Okay, so let's see, we're at 11.5. That took us 4 minutes and 44 seconds to get up there.
And we were going slow when we started out. Like when we went to start our climb, if we would have been screaming as fast as we could.
Yeah, I think we were doing, what, about 200 knots-ish?
I think I head back to 140, I believe, is when...
So, by the time we pitched, yeah.
So that's how she looks. I bet you we'll see Bimini out here. Doing straight in front of us.
Now, how does this aircraft handle for slow flight? And talk about some of the stall protections and things like that that you have.
Yeah, it's a very good airplane. I mean, it's a very stable airplane. We can disconnect the autopilot. And we'll take off our flight director.
Out of 10, best forward.
We'll be ready for our descent once we get turned westbound, 940 Lima Golf.
All right, so let's go past
Sure, American 2028, 1000.
the overbank protection. It's telling me it's actually forcefully pushing it to go back.
Engaging autopilot.
So it was basically pushing me to correct. I didn't correct. It engaged the autopilot level, and it kept you all out of trouble. So that's the overbank protection. I mean, how amazing is that?
And then what about stall protection?
Stall protection, it's good.
Who's that?
Do you get a stall warning horn?
Yeah, you're gonna get a warning horn.
Shaker.
I can't remember if there's a shaker on this or not.
Well, if you're flying this aircraft the way it's designed to be flown with all of the automation, you should never find yourself in an environment where you're at risk of stalling, though, correct?
The only stalls I ever do are the ones in the sim
The
for
simulator
training.
for training.
Contact Miami Center on 128.17.
2817, American 158, good day.
Like Shed 521, climbing to 16,000.
1660.
And you can load your full instrument approach procedure and everything through here
Correct, it's a great
and
system.
get all that. And then
3.4,
ILS, GPS, approach capable, everything.
Westbound Airbus descending to 8,000.
American 2028, looking.
Miami, over 940 Lima Golf, we're ready for our descent.
740 Lima Golf, Roger. You can start your VFR descent now for you're landing Fort Lauderdale International, I heard. It's Oscar current. Expect the right downwind for only 10 right.
Roger, we have Oscar. We'll expect the right downwind for 10 right. We'll start our VFR descent, 940 Lima Golf. Are we cleared through Bravo?
November Lima Golf, affirmative. You're cleared through the Bravo airspace. Start your VFR descent. Thank you.
Roger, VFR descent, cleared through Bravo, 940 Lima Golf.
So you want to double check. You know, even though they gave it to
It's
us,
always an important question to ask.
even though they gave it to us earlier, you know, that was a different. We're going back the other direction.
I really like having the automation. Anything that makes it simpler for single pilot operations, you know, that makes it safer is a win in my book.
Yeah, 100%.
You know a lot of other guys in the TBM community?
Oh, quite a few. When I go to Sun and Fun and Oshkosh Air Adventure, the Dyer display, I get to meet everybody and hang out with everybody all week long. It's a great community. I mean, as you know, the aviation community is a great community to be part of.
Do you know, has there been a lot of mishaps in TBM aircraft? Or,
There has been.
How's the safety track record?
The airplane is a safe airplane. The problem is a lot of people getting into the TBMs, it's quite a jump up in the type of airplane they're flying, where
Right.
they get in over their head. But as far as the aircraft itself, it's a great airplane. It's a lot of times pilot, induced error is what happens.
Well, what's your number one advice for pilots that are scaling up to this aircraft that have never, had 850 horsepower before?
Stay ahead of the airplane. Ahead of the airplane and ahead of the flight. Like, a lot of people, to me, what I think is they don't plan ahead in the flight and they get behind, and that's when you're going to have issues.
Right.
That's my biggest advice, is always when you get into an airplane, really be sure you're briefed on what you're going to do inside the flight before you even get to it. And then when you're during the flight, make sure you're really just ahead of the flight and the steps that you're going to be upcoming.
Somebody that doesn't have a lot of experience using these displays with all the advanced avionics, I can see how it can be easily overwhelming. Do you feel like when pilots transition to an aircraft like this, that's a challenge for them to adapt to that?
Yeah, I mean, navigating these, this is a great information this all gives you. But learning to get into a new, say you're not used to this system, navigating all the different interfaces was my hardest part of getting to know the airplane. Is like, because there's the interfaces down here, there's so many things you can do with this, but being able to be proficient with it is where I honestly, Microsoft Flight Simulator has these programmed exactly as it is in real life. I know it's a simulator, but to get through the flows of the different screens really helped me.
Right.
As far as really staying current on the systems. It's modeled perfectly on some of the airplanes. The G3000 is modeled exactly as it is in real life.
Right. Well, I think the challenge is for any type of avionics package that you have, regardless of the aircraft, is your familiarity with it and your proficiency with it. And out here flying VFR, it's not a problem. We have all the basic information we need, and we haven't even explored half of the features that this has.
Now, if I'm going to go fly somewhere where I'm going to shoot an approach down to minimums, I need to know everything about this to set up that approach correctly.
It's 12 o'clock, 3 miles southbound, altitude indicates 2,000.
Looking for traffic, 0 Lima Golf.
Did you notice how Stevo talked about how important it is to stay ahead of the aircraft? That's basically the same thing that Chris talked about when I flew with him in the Vision Jet. Now, as a former fighter pilot, I only had 50 hours in a Cessna before I transitioned to a multi-engine jet aircraft, so I was taught instrument flying at 300 knots, so that's pretty much all I've ever known. But for someone transitioning to the TBM or the Vision Jet from something like an SR-22, it's a big difference that could take some time to get used to. And if you want to stay safe, you need to define your personal minimums and then stick to them. Even though we were done with the medium altitude portion of the flight, the mission isn't over yet, because I still need to give you my final debrief and tell you which aircraft I think is better.
1865, maintain VFR 0 Lima Golf.
Okay.
Miami, November 940 Lima Golf, 2,500 with Oscar.
940 Lima Golf, Miami approach, welcome. Join the right downwind, runway 10 right, and extend.
Roger, join the right downwind for 10 right, and we'll extend 0 Lima Golf.
All right.
Right, because like you said, the biggest challenge is staying ahead of the aircraft, especially at a much faster speed. If you're flying an instrument approach in the weather, you can easily get overwhelmed. It's all the last minute changes that you're not expecting. Maybe the controller isn't going to let you do what you thought you wanted to do, and now you're having to adjust your plan on the fly.
Yep, correct.
Miami approach, American 2397 in the descent out of...
And down here in South Florida,
2397,
you go around
Miami
the
approach,
parts of the United States, it is like super easy to fly. You get here in South Florida and the airspace is so busy and there's so many airspaces around. It's a whole different level flying down here in Florida, South Florida, compared to like when I get up in the Midwest or something where there's not a lot going on.
What kind of approach speed are we flying?
Today we're going to do 110 knots is what I'm going to do with takeoff flap setting.
Okay.
When it's windy, I know Dyer's yelled at me, why are you landing in takeoff flap setting? Well, the reason why they don't want you to do it is because you don't get a gear horn if our gear was up.
Okay.
So today, 85 knots is full flaps is what they want you to land it at. Today I'm flying it. I'm going to land at a takeoff flap setting, and I come in at 110.
Okay.
The only thing you got to double check is that your landing gear is down, because we would not get a gear horn, and we would gear up land it.
516, contact
It's
tower.
Other than the gear horn, is there a difference between takeoff and landing
560.
flaps, like in terms of the,
Oh, yeah.
the extension?
Yeah, you have so much flap angle at the landing flap setting that I like the way the airplane handles a lot more coming in, because you're basically coming in like this to land. When you
Okay.
come in with the full flaps, it's like you're like this.
Okay.
It's
More
just
like a 3 or 4 degree nose down pitch type thing?
The autopilot,
Okay.
and I'm leaving auto throttle on. This really helps you manage the your airspeed in the
It's one
the
less
airplane.
thing to worry about.
So
what
selected.
So if you change your pitch, the auto throttles will adjust to compensate for that.
Correct.
With the airspeed.
It's like a cheat having the auto throttle. And then we're
Right.
going to go gear down selected. And as you know, anytime you select something, you always make sure it verifies. So landing or takeoff flap setting, it's indicating.
Okay.
Gear is selected down, indicated down.
We finally made it back to the pattern, and now it's time for my final debrief. First of all, I'm glad I was able to cross off the TBM 940 on my list, and I couldn't imagine a better way to do so than flying with Steveo1Kinevo. Now, when it comes to which aircraft is better, let me just say that they both have some incredible safety features and capabilities, but the TBM 940 is a more capable aircraft in terms of speed, payload capacity, and range. And even though I've always flown jet engine aircraft, I would pick the TBM 940 if money wasn't a problem. However, if most of your travel is only 500 to 600 miles, then you could probably save a few $1,000,000 and get yourself a Vision Jet. But I'm curious what your thoughts are, so let me know in the comments, and be sure to stick around for the landing so we can call this mission complete.
So I got it set back to 110 knots. We'll go.
0 Lima Golf at Alaska traffic now. 4 mile finals reporting site 737.
4 mile file.
Booking 0 Lima Golf.
Lima Golf. He's on the north side, north runway. Is at your 1 to 2 o'clock now, descending to 1,300. He's got his landing light on there.
Insight 0 Lima Golf. Insight 940 Lima Golf.
Lima Golf, Roger, thank you.
And I also take the yaw damper off so we can get on the rudder, to get a feel for the airplane.
Now, where's this guy at?
He's right out there.
Oh, I got him now.
He's laying north side.
500.
I always like doing short approaches. And when you fly out in the Bahamas all the time, you do these all the time. And down 3 green, and flaps are selected and set.
Normally you're cracking the wings as soon as you come abeam the threshold, and then it's just a constant turn all the way around.
Exactly. So what's nice with the auto throttle, it's still holding my speed for me perfectly.
Right. We're at 110.
It's right where I want to be. Now I'm going to take it with my middle finger on my right
Auto
hand.
throttle.
Take it off, come into land.
Nice.
Back to flight idle, real nice. Kick the rudders in a little bit.
There you go.
There we go.
Airspeed.
Oh, beautiful.
Look at this, back to full reverse we could. Changes the pitch of that prop. And we'll go back into beta.
Now that the flight is over, I hope you enjoyed this adventure with Stevo as much as I did. And if you want to learn more about the Vision Jet, you can watch the full video where I flew in the world's safest personal jet by clicking the video link on the screen or in the description and the comments below. And I hope you'll join me in the future on my mission to find an aircraft for me and my family.